Admiral Taeyang stood in the command center of the big spaceship called Indomitable. His hands were behind his back. He looked at the large blue screen that showed thousands of small lights. Each light was a human spaceship. The screen floated in the air like magic, but it was just very advanced technology. The space around them was dark and endless. Stars were everywhere, like tiny diamonds scattered across black cloth. Taeyang had been watching these screens for many hours now. Something bad was coming. He could feel it in his bones. Commander Hana walked up to him quickly. Her face looked worried, but she kept her voice calm and strong. She was good at staying calm when things were bad. That was why Taeyang trusted her. "Admiral, we are getting emergency calls from our outer colonies," Hana said. "The Vrakesh Dominion has started attacking. They are invading with their full military force. 12 of our colony systems have stopped sending signals. We think they are destroyed or captured." Taeyang felt his jaw muscles tighten. He had known this day would come eventually. The Vrakesh were not just one alien race. They were 7 different alien species who had joined together. They all agreed on one thing. They believed humans were too dangerous to live. They thought humanity should not be allowed to spread across the galaxy. For 3 long years, the Vrakesh had watched human colonies grow. They had studied human technology. They had made plans and built weapons. They had prepared their massive fleet in secret. Now they were finally attacking. "How many enemy ships are coming?" Taeyang asked. His voice was quiet, but everyone on the bridge could hear him clearly. Lieutenant Minho was sitting at the tactical station. His fingers moved fast across the glowing buttons and screens. He was reading all the data coming from their spy satellites and scout ships. His face went pale when he saw the numbers. "Sir, our intelligence reports say there are about 15,000 big capital ships," Minho said slowly. "Those are just the main warships. They also have at least 100,000 smaller fighter ships and attack drones supporting them. It is the biggest fleet anyone has ever seen." Everyone on the bridge became very quiet. Some officers looked scared. Others looked angry. The number was terrifying. 15,000 capital ships was more firepower than any single race had ever assembled before. The Vrakesh had spent decades building this invasion force. A woman's face appeared on the main communication screen. It was Captain Jiwon. She commanded a huge battle carrier ship called Perseus. Her ship could carry hundreds of fighter craft and had weapons powerful enough to destroy small moons. "Admiral Taeyang," Jiwon said, "the Vrakesh are sending a message on all communication channels. They are demanding that all humans surrender completely within 48 hours. If we do not surrender, they say they will begin what they call final cleansing operations. Sir, I think that means they plan to kill every human in the galaxy." Taeyang nodded slowly. He had expected this. The Vrakesh did not want to negotiate. They did not want peace. They wanted humanity completely destroyed and erased from history. The Vrakesh leaders had spent years convincing themselves that humans were monsters. They pointed to human history. They talked about the wars humans had fought against each other. They used this as proof that humans would eventually fight everyone in the galaxy. They decided it was better to destroy humanity now before humans became too powerful. What the Vrakesh did not know was a very important secret. Humans had also been preparing. While the Vrakesh were building their fleet, humanity was building something much more advanced. Human scientists had been working in hidden facilities for 10 years. They had created weapons and technology that would change everything. Taeyang turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge was looking at him now. They wanted to know what he would do. They wanted to know if there was any hope of survival against such a huge enemy force. "Send a message to every fleet commander in our military," Taeyang said. His voice was cold and hard like ice. "Tell them Operation Thunderbolt is starting now. Activate Protocol Omega immediately." Commander Hana's eyes became wide. She knew what Protocol Omega meant. It was the secret plan that only the highest-ranking officers knew about. Once they activated it, there would be no going back. Everything would change. "Sir, are you absolutely certain about this?" Hana asked quietly. "Once we activate Protocol Omega, we cannot stop it. The whole galaxy will see what we have been hiding. Everyone will know what humans are really capable of." Taeyang looked at the screen showing the massive Vrakesh fleet approaching. Those aliens wanted to kill every man, woman, and child in human space. They wanted to burn human colonies. They wanted to destroy Earth itself. They had chosen war. The Vrakesh came here wanting a war, Taeyang said quietly. They are about to learn why the rest of the galaxy should fear humanity. They are about to understand why we have been so quiet and peaceful for so long. Execute my order now. Hana saluted and began sending encrypted messages to every human military base and ship in the solar system. Within seconds, the orders were spreading across light years of space through quantum communication systems. Every fleet commander received the same simple message. Protocol Omega was active. In hidden bases scattered throughout the solar system, warning lights began flashing. Massive doors that had been sealed for years started opening. Power generators that had been sleeping came roaring to life. Weapons that the galaxy had never seen before began charging their systems. The Vrakesh thought they were attacking a weak and unprepared enemy. They thought they had overwhelming numbers and superior firepower. They thought victory was certain and that humanity would be easy to destroy. They were wrong about everything. Far away from Earth, deep in the cold darkness beyond Neptune's orbit, something incredible was happening. The Kuiper Belt was a region filled with ice and rocks floating in space. For years, the Vrakesh spies had watched this area. They thought humans were just mining asteroids there for minerals and resources. They were completely wrong. Chief Engineer Yunji sat in the control room of a station called Forge Station Alpha. She had been working here for 6 years. The whole time, she had been helping to build humanity's secret weapon. Now finally, it was time to reveal everything. Yunji pressed several buttons on her console. All around the Kuiper Belt, huge metal doors began opening. These doors had been disguised to look like ordinary asteroid mining facilities. But behind them were something completely different. They were military shipyards, massive construction bays, weapons platforms, all hidden in plain sight. All quantum drive systems are now online, Yunji reported to Commander Deho. We are shutting down all stealth technology. Sir, we are going to light up every scanner in the solar system. They will see us now. Commander Deho smiled. He had been waiting for this moment for so long. Good, let them see everything. Let them see exactly what we built. Let the Vrakesh understand their mistake. What emerged from those hidden facilities shocked everyone watching. The human fleet was enormous. Not 15,000 ships like the Vrakesh had brought. 50,000 ships, 5 times larger than the enemy fleet. And these were not ordinary ships. These were the most advanced warships that had ever been created by any species in the galaxy. Each human warship was equipped with incredible technology. They had weapons powered by stars. They had shields that could stop almost anything. They had engines that could move faster than light. They had armor that could survive planet-destroying explosions. And they had been built in total secrecy. Captain Borum commanded one of the biggest ships in the fleet. Her vessel was called Eternal Vigil. It was a dreadnought. That meant it was designed specifically to destroy other capital ships. It was over 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy an entire enemy fleet by itself. Borum stood on her command bridge and looked at the weapons list on her screen. She had plasma lance batteries that could burn through the core of a planet. She had quantum torpedoes that could exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. She had defensive shields powered by miniature stars trapped in magnetic bottles. And most dangerous of all, she had Ragnarok cannons. The Ragnarok cannons were weapons that could tear holes in space itself. They used gravity as a weapon. When fired, they would create tiny black holes that would crush anything nearby. Nothing could survive being hit by a Ragnarok cannon. Not shields, not armor, nothing. Borum activated the fleet communication system. Her voice reached every ship in the massive human armada. This is Captain Borum of the Eternal Vigil calling all vessels. Everyone maintain your position in the formation. Charge all primary weapon systems to full power. Target acquisition computers are now active. We have trained for this moment for 10 years. Now we show the Vrakesh what humanity has built while they were watching. On the sensor station, Lieutenant Soyon was monitoring the enemy fleet movements. Suddenly her screen started flashing with new data. Her hands moved quickly across her controls as she analyzed the information. Captain Borum, the Vrakesh fleet has detected us, Soyon reported. Her voice sounded excited and nervous at the same time. They are changing their formation. They are turning all their ships to face our fleet. I think they finally realize we are not defenseless. Borum smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator who had cornered her prey. Excellent. Then they will have the best view. They will see everything that happens next. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Taeyang was watching the tactical display. The screen showed both fleets now. The Vrakesh Armada looked impressive. It stretched across thousands of kilometers. Their ships were arranged in perfect military formation. They had overlapping fields of fire. Their shields were linked together for maximum protection. Their support craft surrounded their capital ships. It was exactly the kind of formation that military academies taught. It was designed to be nearly impossible to defeat using conventional warfare. Any normal fleet attacking this formation would be destroyed. But the human fleet was not normal. And Taiyang knew it would not matter how good the Vrakesh formation was. "What is the distance to the enemy fleet?" Taiyang asked calmly. Lieutenant Minho checked his sensors. 2 million kilometers away and getting closer, Admiral. They are charging their weapons now. It looks like they plan to shoot at us from maximum range. They want to hit us before we can get close enough to fight back. Taiyang nodded. That was a smart strategy. If you had superior numbers, you wanted to use your range advantage. You wanted to destroy the enemy before they could hurt you. It was basic military tactics. Let them fire first, Taiyang ordered. His voice was completely calm. I want the entire galaxy to see who attacked first. I want everyone watching to know that the Vrakesh started this war. We are only defending ourselves. Commander Hana looked at him with surprise. Sir, you want to let them shoot us first? That could damage our ships. Taiyang just smiled. Commander, have faith in our technology. Let them fire. Let them use their best weapons. Let them think they have a chance. Then we will show them the truth. All across the human fleet, crews were making final preparations. Engineers checked power systems. Gunners calibrated their targeting computers. Shield operators brought defensive systems to full strength. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Everyone knew what was about to happen. This would be the first real battle between humans and aliens. For years, humanity had avoided conflict. They had been peaceful and diplomatic. They had made friends with other species when possible. But they had also been preparing for war. Preparing for this exact moment, the Vrakesh had made their choice. They had decided humanity must die. Now they would learn what happens when you threaten the survival of the human race. They would learn why evolution had made humans such successful hunters. They would learn why humans had climbed to the top of the food chain on their home planet. The distance between the two fleets continued to shrink. 2 million kilometers, 1.5 million, 1 million. The Vrakesh weapons were almost in range now. The battle was about to begin. Overlord Kreshtar stood on the command bridge of his flagship, a massive warship called Eternal Conquest. He was the supreme leader of the Vrakesh Dominion fleet. He was 7 feet tall with scales that looked like metal and eyes that glowed red with anger. He had planned this invasion for 5 years. But now, looking at his tactical display, Kreshtar felt something he rarely experienced. He felt worry. Something was very wrong. The intelligence reports had said humans only had about 5,000 military ships. The reports had said human technology was barely equal to standard galactic weapons. The fleet in front of him was not 5,000 ships. It was 50,000 ships. And the energy readings coming from those human vessels were completely off the scale. His sensors had never seen power signatures like this before. Open a communication channel to the human commander, Kreshtar ordered. His voice was deep and rumbling. I want to speak to whoever leads these primitives. His communications officer sent a tight beam laser transmission to the largest human ship. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Taiyang nodded to Commander Hana. She pressed a button to accept the transmission. A holographic image appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed Overlord Kreshtar in all his terrifying glory. He looked like a giant reptile that could tear a person apart with his bare hands. His teeth were like knives. His claws could cut through steel. Human Admiral, Kreshtar began. The translation system made his words understandable, but his voice still sounded like grinding metal. You are badly outmatched. The Vrakesh Dominion has assembled the greatest military force in the entire history of the galaxy. Your species has been judged. We have decided you are too dangerous and too unpredictable. You cannot be allowed to spread across the stars. You must be eliminated. He paused to let his words sink in. Then he continued. Surrender now and we will make your extinction quick. We will not torture you. We will not make you suffer. We will simply erase humanity from existence as painlessly as possible. This is the mercy we offer. Admiral Taiyang's face showed no emotion. He had expected something like this. He had known the Vrakesh saw themselves as superior. He had known they would be arrogant. You come to our home, Taiyang said quietly. You threaten to kill our families and destroy our worlds. And then you offer us the kindness of a quick death? Overlord Kreshtar, you have made a very serious mistake. Kreshtar's eyes narrowed. What mistake is that, human? You assumed we were weak because we chose peace, Taeyang replied. You assumed we could not defend ourselves because we did not attack others. You assumed our diplomatic nature meant we had no teeth. Most importantly, you assumed we would wait for you to come and kill us without preparing. You were wrong about everything. Kreshtar laughed. It was a horrible sound, like rocks being crushed together. Brave words from a species about to become extinct. You think your larger fleet frightens me? Numbers mean nothing without power. Fire all weapons. Show these primitives the true power of the Dominion. The Vrakesh fleet opened fire. 15,000 capital ships released everything they had. Tens of thousands of plasma beams shot through space. Millions of kinetic projectiles were launched. Massive missile swarms flew toward the human fleet like clouds of angry insects. It was enough destructive power to destroy entire planets. The barrage of weapons fire looked like a solid wall of energy and metal, rushing toward the human ships. Any normal fleet would have been completely vaporized. The attack was overwhelming. It was meant to destroy everything in its path. On the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, Lieutenant Soyeon watched her shield display calmly. The enemy weapons hit their shields like rain hitting a mountain. Captain Borum, shields are holding at 98% power, she reported. Her voice was relaxed. Those weapons barely registered on our systems. It is like they are throwing pebbles at us. The same thing was happening across the entire human fleet. The devastating attack that should have crippled them had barely scratched their shields. Human defensive technology was generations ahead of anything the Vrakesh had. The human shields were powered by controlled quantum reactions and could absorb incredible amounts of energy. The Vrakesh weapons simply could not penetrate them. It was like attacking a tank with a stick. Admiral Taeyang watched his display showing that all human ships were undamaged. His expression did not change at all. He had known their shields would hold. He had known the Vrakesh weapons were no real threat. Return fire, Taeyang said calmly. Show them the difference between their technology and ours. The human fleet had been waiting for this order. Every weapon system had been charged to maximum power. Every targeting computer had locked onto enemy ships. Every ship captain had their finger hovering over the fire button. What happened next would change galactic history forever. 50,000 human warships fired as one. It was a perfectly coordinated attack. Every shot had been calculated by advanced artificial intelligence. Every target had been chosen for maximum effect. The human fleet did not need to aim carefully because their quantum communication systems allowed perfect coordination between all ships. The Ragnarok cannons fired first. These were the most devastating weapons humanity had ever created. They shot beams of pure gravitational force that moved faster than light. Where these beams hit a Vrakesh ship, that ship simply stopped existing. The intense gravity tore the vessels apart at the molecular level and compressed them into tiny points smaller than a grain of sand. In 3 seconds, over 1,000 Vrakesh capital ships were gone. Just gone, erased from existence. Then the plasma lance batteries fired. These weapons shot streams of matter that was as hot as the center of a star. The plasma cut through Vrakesh ships like a hot knife through butter. Entire squadrons of enemy vessels exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The quantum torpedoes were perhaps the most frightening weapons. They existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. This meant they could pass through shields as if the shields were not even there. When a quantum torpedo hit a ship and exploded, it created a dimensional rift that consumed everything nearby. Ships caught in these rifts were torn apart and scattered across different dimensions. On the tactical station of the Indomitable, Lieutenant Minho stared at his screen in shock. His hands were shaking as he read the numbers. Admiral, enemy fleet strength is down to 40%. That was just one coordinated salvo. We destroyed 60% of their forces in 8 seconds. 8 seconds. In 8 seconds, the greatest military fleet ever assembled had been cut in half. 9,000 capital ships destroyed. 60,000 support craft turned into debris, and the human fleet had barely used any power at all. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, complete chaos had taken over. Alarms were screaming. Officers were shouting. Damage reports were flooding in from every remaining Vrakesh ship. Overlord, one of his officers screamed in panic. We have lost the entire vanguard. The second battle group is being destroyed. Their weapons are like nothing we have ever seen. We have no defense against them. Nothing works! Kreshtar stared at the tactical display. He could not believe what he was seeing. His mighty armada was being annihilated. The pride of 7 species was burning. All his planning, all his preparation, all his confidence was being destroyed in seconds. For the first time in his life, Overlord Kreshtar felt pure. Overlord Kreshtar knew he had made a terrible mistake. His fleet was being destroyed. His people were dying. Everything he had planned for years was falling apart in seconds. He had only one choice left. All ships retreat, he roared at his communications officer. Emergency faster than light jump. Get us out of here now. Retreat! Retreat! Across what remained of the Vrakesh fleet, ship captains heard the retreat order. They immediately tried to activate their FTL drives. These were the engines that allowed ships to travel faster than light and escape from battle. Every Vrakesh captain was desperately trying to jump away to safety, but their engines would not activate. Something was wrong. The FTL drives were receiving power, but they could not create the jump into faster-than-light travel. It was as if space itself was refusing to let them leave. That was exactly what was happening. Humanity had planned for this moment too. Deploy the interdiction field, Admiral Taeyang ordered calmly. Throughout the human fleet, specialized ships activated their unique systems. These were interdiction vessels. They had been designed for one purpose only. They could create a bubble of disrupted space-time. Within this bubble, faster-than-light travel became impossible. The Vrakesh were trapped like animals in a cage. Massive waves of exotic particles erupted from the interdiction ships. These particles spread out in all directions, creating an invisible prison that was thousands of kilometers wide. Any ship caught inside this field could not escape using FTL drives. On the Eternal Conquest, a junior officer looked at Kreshtar with wide, terrified eyes. Sir, the FTL drives are not working. We are trapped. The humans have some kind of technology that prevents jump travel. We cannot run. Kreshtar felt his heart sink. He had 2 hearts like all members of his species. Both of them were pounding with fear now. He was going to die here. His entire fleet was going to die here. And there was nothing he could do to stop it. Admiral Taeyang watched the tactical display showing the trapped Vrakesh fleet. He felt no joy at what he was about to do. He felt no hatred for the enemy. He only felt the cold determination of someone protecting his home and his people. Second salvo, Taeyang commanded. Target their command ships and largest vessels. Finish this battle. The human fleet fired again. This time the attack was even more focused and deadly. The artificial intelligence systems had identified every command ship in the enemy fleet. Every dreadnought, every carrier, every vessel that was important to the Vrakesh military structure. Each one had been marked for destruction. Concentrated fire from dozens of human warships struck each target simultaneously. The Vrakesh command vessels were the biggest and most heavily armored ships in their fleet. They had shields that could survive orbital bombardment. They had armor thick enough to stop nuclear weapons. None of it mattered against human weapons. The Ragnarok cannons punched through shields as if they were made of paper. The plasma lances melted armor like ice in the sun. The quantum torpedoes tore holes in reality itself. In the span of heartbeats, the largest and most powerful Vrakesh ships were reduced to expanding clouds of glowing gas. The Eternal Conquest was one of the last to die. Kreshtar stood on his bridge and watched death coming for him. He had just enough time to realize how badly he had underestimated humanity. He had just enough time to understand that humans had been peaceful not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to choose peace. Then a Ragnarok beam hit his flagship. The gravitational forces tore through every deck. They ripped apart every bulkhead. They crushed every living thing aboard into atomic particles. The Eternal Conquest, the pride of the Vrakesh Dominion, existed for 3 more seconds before it was converted into a rapidly expanding ball of superheated plasma. Overlord Kreshtar died not understanding how badly he had misjudged his enemy. He died not knowing that humanity had spent 10 years preparing for this exact scenario. He died not realizing that humans had built these weapons specifically to defend against the threat he represented. 16 seconds after the battle had begun, it was over. Lieutenant Minho stared at his tactical screen in stunned silence. The display showed the results of the engagement. His voice was quiet when he made his report. Admiral, the enemy fleet has been completely destroyed. Total engagement time was 16 seconds from first shot to last. We suffered 0 casualties. Hull damage across our fleet is less than 2%, 16 seconds. That was all it had taken to defeat the largest invasion force in galactic history. The Vrakesh had spent decades planning. They had built 15,000 capital ships. They had formed an alliance of 7 species. They had assembled over 100,000 support craft, and they had been annihilated in 16 seconds. Commander Hana spoke softly. "Sir, we are detecting some surviving Vrakesh vessels. They appear to be damaged and drifting. Their weapons are offline. Should we destroy them?" Taeyang shook his head. "No. Send recovery ships to collect survivors. Provide medical assistance to any wounded. We will show them mercy even though they showed us none." Captain Borum's voice came through on the fleet channel. "Admiral, are you certain? These aliens came here to exterminate us. They wanted to kill every human in existence." "I know what they wanted," Taeyang replied. "But we are not like them. We do not kill helpless enemies. We do not commit genocide. We defend ourselves when necessary, but we do not become monsters. Send the recovery ships." Across the human fleet, medical ships and rescue vessels moved forward into the debris field. They began searching for escape pods and damaged ships that still had life signs. It was slow, careful work. They did not find many survivors. Of the 15,000 Vrakesh capital ships and 100,000 support craft, less than 200 vessels had survived. Most of those were badly damaged. The crews were in shock. Many were injured. All of them were terrified. The Vrakesh survivors had expected to be killed immediately. That was what they would have done if the situation had been reversed. Instead, human medical teams treated their wounds. Human engineers worked to stabilize their damaged ships. Human supply vessels provided food and water. It was the last thing any Vrakesh had expected. They had come to exterminate humanity. In response, humanity had destroyed their fleet in seconds, but now humans were saving their lives. Engineer Yunji, still monitoring from Forge Station Alpha, sent a message to Admiral Taeyang. "Sir, we are receiving communications from neutral observers throughout the galaxy. The battle was witnessed by representatives from over 50 different species. They all saw what happened." Taeyang nodded. "Good. Let them see everything. Let them see how we defended ourselves. Let them see how we treated our defeated enemies. Let the galaxy know who humanity really is." The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. In every star system, on every inhabited world, people learned about the Battle of Sol. They learned how humanity had destroyed the Vrakesh invasion in 16 seconds. They learned about the incredible weapons humans had built in secret, and they learned that after winning, humanity had shown mercy to their defeated enemies. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. 3 weeks after the battle, Admiral Taeyang stood in the command center of the Indomitable. He was not celebrating. There were no victory parades, no cheering crowds, no speeches about glory. Instead, he was watching the recovery operations continue. Human ships were still searching through the massive debris field. They were looking for any remaining survivors. They were collecting the bodies of the dead, so they could be returned to their homeworlds with honor. It was slow, sad work, but it was necessary. Commander Hana walked up beside him. She looked tired. Everyone looked tired. Winning a battle did not mean the work was finished. In many ways, the work was just beginning. "Admiral, we have processed most of the Vrakesh survivors," Hana reported. "Less than 200 ships survived. About 15,000 individuals total. They are being held in comfortable conditions. We are providing medical care. Many of them are still in shock from what happened." Taeyang nodded slowly. 15,000 survivors out of millions who had attacked. It was a terrible loss of life. He felt no satisfaction at this number. Every death was a tragedy, even enemy deaths. These Vrakesh soldiers had been following orders. They had believed they were doing the right thing. "What about their homeworlds?" Taeyang asked. "Have we made contact?" "Yes, sir," Hana replied. "We sent messages to all 7 species in the Vrakesh Dominion. We told them what happened. We told them we will return their survivors. We also told them our terms for peace." Taeyang had written those terms himself. They were fair but firm. The Vrakesh would have to completely disarm their military forces. They would have to pay to help rebuild the human colonies they had attacked. They would have to accept permanent observers to make sure they never planned genocide again. And most importantly, they would have to acknowledge that they had been the aggressors. "Have they responded?" Taeyang asked. "All 7 species have accepted the terms completely," Hana said. They are calling it unconditional surrender. Their governments are in chaos. Many of their leaders have resigned or been removed from power. The people of those worlds are angry that their leaders started a war they could not win. Taeyang was not surprised. When you lost 99% of your military in 16 seconds, you did not have many options left. The Vrkesh had gambled everything on destroying humanity. They had lost everything. What about the other species? Taeyang asked. The ones who were not part of the Dominion? Lieutenant Soyeon spoke up from her communication station. Sir, we have received over 300 requests for diplomatic contact. Species from all across the galaxy want to talk to us. Some want to form alliances. Some want trade agreements. Some just want to make sure we know they were never our enemies. That made sense too. The galaxy had just watched humanity destroy the most powerful military force ever assembled. Every species was now reassessing their relationship with humans. Nobody wanted to be the next enemy of humanity. Captain Ji-won's face appeared on the communication screen. She was calling from the Perseus. Admiral, the Galactic Council has requested your presence. They are holding an emergency session. They want humanity to address the entire council. The Galactic Council was the closest thing to a government that the galaxy had. It was made up of representatives from hundreds of different species. They made rules about trade and tried to prevent wars. But they had no real power. They could not force anyone to do anything. More importantly, the Galactic Council had done nothing when the Vrkesh were building their invasion fleet. They had watched the Dominion prepare for genocide and they had not interfered. Some species on the council had even quietly supported the Vrkesh plan. Tell them I will attend, Taeyang said, but I will speak on humanity's terms, not theirs. 2 months after the battle, Admiral Taeyang stood before the Galactic Council. The council chamber was enormous. It was built to hold representatives from hundreds of species, and today every seat was filled. Everyone wanted to hear what humanity had to say. Taeyang looked out at the sea of alien faces. Some looked afraid. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. He did not care what they thought. He was here to make humanity's position clear. Members of the Galactic Council, Taeyang began. His voice was calm, but it carried power. You are all wondering about the weapons we used. You are wondering how we developed technology so far beyond what anyone else has. You are wondering if humanity is now a threat to the entire galaxy. I am here to explain. He paused to let everyone focus on his words. For millions of years, humanity lived on a world filled with dangerous predators. We survived by learning to make tools. We survived by learning to think ahead and plan. We survived by learning to work together. When we finally reached the stars and found other intelligent life, we hoped for friendship and cooperation. We wanted peace. Another pause. Some of the council members were nodding. Others were listening carefully. But we also saw the dangers, Taeyang continued. We saw species that viewed others as threats. We saw the Vrkesh building their coalition. We heard their propaganda about how dangerous humans were. We knew that eventually, someone would try to destroy us, so we prepared. We built weapons that could defend our species. We created technology that would ensure our survival. He looked directly at the council members who had supported the Vrkesh. The Vrkesh Dominion made a mistake. They believed our peaceful nature meant we were weak. They thought we could not defend ourselves. They were wrong. They attacked us and we destroyed them in 16 seconds. We could have killed every survivor. We could have tracked down their homeworlds and returned the favor. Instead, we showed mercy. We saved lives. We offered fair terms of peace. The chamber was completely silent now. Everyone was listening to every word. Let this be clearly understood by everyone in this galaxy, Taeyang said, his voice growing stronger. Humanity wants peace. We want to be friends with other species. We want to trade, to share knowledge, to explore the universe together. We will be the best allies you could ever hope for. But we will also defend ourselves against any threat. Anyone who attacks humanity will learn the same lesson the Vrkesh learned. We will not be victims. We will not be destroyed. We will survive. He looked around the chamber one more time. The choice is yours. Be our friends and prosper with us. Be our enemies and face the consequences. But never ever mistake our desire for peace as a weakness. We choose peace because we are strong enough to make that choice. Remember that. When Taeyang finished speaking, the council chamber erupted in discussion. Arguments broke out. Alliances shifted. Politics happened. But by the end of the day, the Galactic Council had voted to grant humanity a permanent seat with full voting rights. They also voted to create new laws about peace and cooperation. More importantly, every species in the galaxy now understood the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not helpless. Humanity had the power to end any war in seconds, and the wisdom to choose peace instead. Back on Earth, a memorial was being built. It would honor the people who had died when the Vrakesh attacked the outer colonies. Captain Borum was overseeing the final construction. The monument was made of black stone and it rose high into the sky. On the monument were carved the names of everyone who had died. Above those names was a message that Taiyang himself had written. It said they never had a chance. Not because we were cruel, but because we were prepared. Not because we sought war, but because we refused to be victims. Remember them. Remember what we fought for. Peace is not weakness. Peace is the ultimate victory. Commander Deho stood beside the memorial and read the words. He had helped build the secret weapons. He had been part of the preparation. Now he watched as families came to honor their dead. Do you think it was worth it? Asked Engineer Unji, who had come to stand beside him. All the years of secrecy? All the resources spent on weapons? Deho nodded. Yes, because those weapons saved billions of lives. If we had not been prepared, the Vrakesh would have exterminated our entire species. Instead, we won in 16 seconds and then showed mercy. That sends a powerful message. Lieutenant Minho, who had been promoted after the battle, added his own thoughts. 16 seconds. That number is going to be taught in military academies for thousands of years. Every species will study what happened. They will all learn the same lesson. Never underestimate humanity. The Battle of Saul lasted only 16 seconds, but its impact would echo through history forever. Humanity had proven they could defend themselves. They had proven they were powerful. But most importantly, they had proven they could be powerful and still choose mercy. The galaxy had learned a new truth. When humanity says never again, they mean it. And anyone who threatens human survival will discover why evolution made humans the most successful species on their planet. Humanity had finally taken their place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as victims, but as guardians of peace who possessed the power to enforce it.